Hi everyone, my name is Jody Went. I am a tattooist and a painter and a musician, and today I am here to deviate from those realms and speak to you about narcissistic personality disorder, about toxic relationships with narcissists and other cluster B spectrum type personalities. This is my first video on this topic, and I'm just feeling drawn to sharing my experiences and my understanding of this concept, this subject matter with others. I do not have a degree. I don't have any fancy degrees. Um, I am a self-studier. I've never been like a student of college. I am a student always, but I am a self-teacher. So when I find something that I really want to put my time and energy into, I do, and I do it effectively, I think, and I absorb the information very well. And psychology has always been one of the things that has boosted my interest, and I think it's important for us to understand the dynamic in these types of relationships and what we're looking at. And if you are watching this video, then you're probably suspecting that you were with a narcissist, or are feeling the pain of a breakup and the trauma that's involved with these types of relationships. And I wish you the best. I am very sorry for your pain. I know it's agonizing. I've been through it myself twice, and this last one was the first one was a 16-year relationship with the father of my kids, and this last one was a 2-year relationship. We didn't have kids together, but we had lived together. And it's hard to know where to begin with this topic because there's really a lot of layers, right? And everyone has their own experience with their narcissist. I guess the best, like 40,000 foot view that I can give you, or one of the best pieces of advice to start your journey in learning this, because you can go out to the internet and find all kinds of videos on narcissism. You can find all kinds of memes that talk about narcissists and how they're evil and how just horrible they are, and be completely hateful. I don't find that to be very helpful. What I do find to be helpful is to fully understand that people have different operating systems. It's no different than a computer which has Windows 10 or Windows 7. If you're a Windows 10 operating system and you're dealing with a Windows 7, probably shows how outdated I am in technology. If you're a Windows 10 and you're dealing with a Windows 7 operating system, then there's going to be gaps in capacity and in communication. There's gaps in everything, but the ultimate point here to understand is that there's gaps in capacity. So the capability of a person operating under the system of narcissism, which was created, by the way, by childhood trauma. In almost all cases, there is some severe childhood trauma that goes along with this, that makes the person who they are, that gives them the borderline traits, that gives them the narcissistic traits, malignant traits, that even gives them a dissociative memory, or dissociative personality disorder, and even multiple personality disorder. And I remember being completely confused and wanting to know what he is. What is he? Is he a multiple personality? Is he a narcissist? Is he borderline? And the truth is that that's a rabbit hole that you don't want to go down, because they display multiple characteristics and they jump between traits. And so it's interchangeable, and it's not something that you can nail down, and it really doesn't matter what you call it. If it was toxic and abusive, that's all you need to know, right? So we need to narrow in on the things that truly matter in your recovery and in your healing and in your understanding of what took place. And to be able to call it one thing over the other, or to be able to like nail it down to something, isn't going to help you. And I know that that is really where a lot of people stay locked in, just grasping for that straw that tells them the answer, definitely the answer. And there is no definite answer, except that it was toxic and that it was harmful to you and to your psyche. So when we're dealing with the operating system, like I was saying, the capacity, the limited capacity, there's also no benefit in labeling it as evil or even intentional, because in most cases of narcissism, the narcissist is not doing anything intentionally, except that their intention is always to get supply. Okay? Their intention is always to get supply. It's not actually, the primary objective is not to hurt people. That's a secondary collateral damage, basically, is what it is. The primary objective is to gain supply. Okay? And so in the process of gaining supply, yes, they are hurting people left and right. But we need to understand that they're not intentionally doing these things necessarily. They are burdened with an operating system that is very limited in their ability to love. And in fact, they may not have the capacity for love. They don't really know what love is. They grew up in a household, most likely, where love was withheld from them, or love looked like toxicity. That's what they now operate under, is that this is what love looks like. It's like if we saw different colors, if when I'm looking at red, I see blue. I mean, and I'm sure that in our vision across the board as humans, we do see different shades. Like we're all different in our capacity to see different colors. But their capacity makes red blue, not just a different shade of red. It's a drastic difference to what our operating system is. And generally speaking, what brings us to our knees in this and what keeps us staying in this relationship is that we do understand that they were damaged as a child. And so we continually see that child and that they just need love. And if I can just love them through this, and that's a noble thought. And while that is not something that I'm not gonna trample that trait, it still can be a damaging trait to you, to see the best in people, and to basically, that combined with not having boundaries is very dangerous. So when we see the best in people and we want to help them reach their full potential, we have to understand that their capacity to see their own potential and to reach that potential may be different. Okay? So that keeps us locked into the narcissistic relationship, and we keep thinking, well, once we get past this, then it'll change, then it'll be better. And it never does get better, does it? And my personal situation was that I was with a cluster B type personality type who was into yoga, who was into meditation, who was into like enlightenment and the spiritual community. And that really confused the hell out of me. That really locked me in, because the first view I saw of him, which helped with this trauma bond, okay, and we'll get to trauma bonds as well. My first views of him were as an enlightened soul, as a really chill person who just was all love and light, right? And it took about 2 or 3 months to see a completely different side of him that I had not anticipated. And then after that, I had already locked into my memory, or into my view of him, this man who just really wants to love and who wants to spread joy and peace and happiness in the world. And so I continued to love him for his intentions and for his for what I saw he could be, his potential, instead of actually realizing and coming to terms with what he was and what I was dealing with. And he may have had, and I do believe he had, the best intentions towards being that person. He really wanted to maintain that personality for me, for the world, at all times, but it wasn't possible. It just wasn't. So in my relationship with him, it was always like, okay, we're going to try this. He'll try being in silence for a month and not speaking. And then he won't be hypercritical of everything that everyone's doing, which was a trait of his mother. Or he's going to try and, meditate more. Or he's just continuing to do yoga, and so that'll help. Or at one point, then we lived in separate houses, like 2 points actually. We lived in separate homes, and did at one point a long distance relationship out of state, and at another point just 15 minutes away. And there was always like some kind of like, okay, well, we'll try this. This will be the thing. This will be the thing. And it never changed anything. If anything, maybe it just like threw a Band-Aid on some of the issues. And he knew that he had childhood trauma, and he knew that he was damaged in this way, and he knew that he was being triggered, and especially by my kids. So in the beginning, it was that he was going to be the greatest thing for my kids. He was going to be so great for them, and that this would be a healing journey for him and my kids. And instead, it turned out to be the complete opposite. The complete opposite. And it seemed that he hated my kids. And he was, constantly triggered by them, or that's what he would say, is that they're very triggering, and he has complex PTSD. At one point, he tried to I could tell he was wrestling, when I look back, he was wrestling with what he is also. And at one point, he was like, maybe I have autism, like I'm on the spectrum. Maybe I have ADHD kind of a thing. There was always like, he was always searching for something, and so was I, but I was very patient, and I just felt like things would change and he would heal. And it was always about being on a healing journey. It was healing, 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 and healing is just around the corner. And something new opened up for him this week. And so now he's more enlightened and more expansive. And so I think that one of my contributions by doing these videos that I would like to see is to really delve into this specific type of narcissistic relationship or toxic relationship with a spiritual narcissist. So the spiritual narcissist, he has basically found he has found a very good cover for his narcissism. And again, this is not a conscious behavior where he's like, where he's sitting around plotting, what can I be? Like, what type of mask can I wear that will help me get in? At some point, it's more like, at some point he saw that by being soft and feminine and spiritual, that this helped people gravitate towards him, and it made them allured by him and his energy, and they were attracted to him in that way. And once he felt some semblance of attraction by others like that, that's his new supply. That's the way to go. This is this is now who I am and who I'm going to be in order to get the supply that I need. This is my ticket. And they are constantly absorbing information from their environment. They're constantly learning how to adapt in order to get that supply in the most efficient and effective ways. They're sponges for this. They see what doesn't work, like, okay, can't do that, can't be that. This is what gets me the attention. And particularly, he wanted attention from women because he had mother issues. So to be soft and feminine, which was a huge stretch from what he used to be, which was very hard and masculine. He gravitated towards the femininity and towards that feminine persona, which made him soft and approachable and vulnerable. He would talk about vulnerability all the time, but didn't really understand that he was faking. It was feigned vulnerability all the time. I look back to moments where he cried with me, or cried, to me in front of me about how he acted, and I don't think it was real. I think he would like it to have been real, and he wanted it to be real, but I think it's mostly an act, and it's a super ego act. His super ego is in charge of his world. So I'm going to stop this video now. It's gone long enough, and it's sort of starting to go all over the place. So I do intend to do more videos on this subject. I hope the takeaways from this is that A, narcissists are not plotting these toxic traits. They're not consciously aware that they're doing these things. This is just merely an operating system, and that's not a ticket for you to give them some kind of, like, to absolve them of what they're doing. This is just so that you can further understand that it's not going to be healthy or helpful for you to just place the blame on them as if they're just an evil person and that they're malicious and that they're doing these things intentionally. In fact, it's usually not intentional. It's just that you need to understand that they're limited in capacity, and that's point B. They're very limited in capacity. We're talking about a vessel. If your vessel is a huge vat of love and they have just a small cup to contribute, those two are not compatible. You're just not going to be compatible. And we need to break it down to these types of brass tacks in order for you to come to an acceptance, a realistic acceptance of what has happened to you and what happened in the course of this relationship, so that you can logically get back on track and heal from this relationship. So those are the two main takeaways, and I hope that this video helped someone watching, and please stay tuned for more. I also want to give a shout out to Richard Grannon and Sam Vaknin. Those two have helped. They've molded my concept and views of these personality types and cluster B personality types immensely, and I am forever grateful for everything that I've learned from their YouTube videos. So go check them out, and until next time, peace be with you. Thanks.